Hey y'all, it's Susan with Susan's Country Living. Welcome to my channel. Glad you stopped by today. Today we're making some Mustang Grape jelly. Mustang grapes grow wild here in my part of Texas and over a lot of the South. Some people call them possum grapes, muscadine, but we call them Mustang grapes. They're really purple when you pick them, a deep purple. They're not kind of the bronze color like there's another muscadine that grows wild that's that color. But these are the dark purple ones. They're super acidic. In fact, when you pick them, you want to wear gloves or cut the little clusters with scissors so that you don't get the juice all over your hands, because it can be very irritating, and you can't just eat the grapes. And so what I do is I put them through a food mill, which removes the skins and the seeds, and then I'm left with the juice and the pulp. So I don't strain the pulp out. I leave that because it's got pectin in it, and of course fiber and things like that, which are in the pulp. And then I freeze my juice in 4-cup quantities. And when I'm ready to need to replenish for a farmer's market or to make some for gifts, I go ahead and pull out one of those 4-cup containers and thaw it out. And right now what I have is 4 cups of Mustang grape juice in this pot. And you can see it is really dark, beautiful reddish purple color. Now I use the liquid pectin. I've tried other pectins and it has not worked for me. It may work for you, and that's great if it does. I've tried the powdered pectin, the Pomona pectin, and none of them have gelled for me like this liquid pectin. And I follow the recipe that's here for grape jelly down here, which is 4 cups of prepared juice, 7 cups of sugar, and 1 pouch of the liquid CERTO. And then I just follow for the jam making, and because mine has pulp in it, I process for 10 minutes in the water bath instead of 5. If you strain all your pulp out and you have just juice and you're making jelly, it's just a 5-minute process. So I've got my jars in my steam canner. They're sterilizing. I have my lids here in hot water, ready to go, sterilizing. And what I need to do is I need to add 7 cups of sugar to my juice. Now that seems like a lot, and it does make a sweet jelly, but because this is so acidic and tart, you have to have that, plus the 7 cups for the pectin to work. I haven't reduced it to see if it would work with a lower amount, because I like the way that it tastes just the way it is. So I'm going to go ahead and get my 7 cups added. I use organic sugar. I've gotten organic sugar from Azure Standard. It's a larger crystal, has a really complex, deep molasses type flavor, which I love. But this came from Costco. It's a finer grain, like your regular processed sugar. And I'm going to add 7 cups. And this has just a little bit, I know it's kind of hard to see, just a little bit of a brown tinge to it, very light. So 1, 7. So I'm going to stir that in and get it boiling. And I'm going to bring it up to a boil that cannot be stirred down, and I'll show you what that looks like when I get there. And I'm going to get this stirred in. I like to use a flat spatula. It just seems to get the bottom of the pan and everything around the edges. It's important that you use stainless steel when you're working with jelly making. Aluminum, because of the acid, could leach into your food, so I don't use an aluminum pot. So stainless steel and glass. I use my Corningware teapot for my lids. It's just convenient that way. I use a steam canner. It's got a dial on the top that tells me when I need to start my timing to get to the certain temperature. I like it because it doesn't use a lot of water. When it's time to move it from the stove to the sink, I have absolutely no trouble doing that. With a big water bath canner, sometimes I have to dip out water in order to move it to the sink. I'm going to turn the heat up to high and stir this every now and then so it doesn't scorch or burn. And when it gets up to that boil, we're going to boil it hard for 1 minute, and then we'll be adding our pectin. So we'll come back when we reach that stage. Okay, so this is now boiling. You'll see that I'm stirring, but I can't stir it down, and it's gonna rise up in the pot. And I'm gonna let this go for a minute, and then I'll be adding my liquid pectin. I'll just keep stirring while this is boiling. You can see I'm stirring, but I can't stir the boil down. It still keeps foaming. The boiling continues. And then I'm going to add my pectin. And it will lower the temperature and kind of stop that boiling for just a little bit. I just like to do this to get it all out of the package. And then I bring it back to a boil, back to that boil that cannot be stirred down. And then I'll boil it 1 minute, and then we're ready to jar it up, and I'll get my jars out. See, that's not able to be stirred down. It's really boiling. Super hot because of the sugar. I'm going to be really careful. Go for a minute. All right, I'm going to go ahead and cut that off, and it'll get to where the dripping will kind of sheet together as it cools. Kind of sheets together. So I'm going to take this off. Towel. Go ahead and get started. If you did have a lot of foam, you could skim it. I had just a little bit, so I don't worry too much about it. And I fill these to a 1/4 inch headspace. Which is with these jars, which I order from Amazon. I'll put a link in the description, and if you use that link, I get some credit for that because I'm an Amazon affiliate. And when I find things that work for me, I like to share that. Now these small jars, I don't use the lids on those. I have found that the sealant is not very good. These larger jars, the sealant in this group was really good. It was thick. So it's kind of hit or miss. It's not always the same. So I always keep a box of those 4 jars lids. In fact, I just recently placed an order. When I order things like jars that aren't a name brand, but these have worked great for canning. They work with the regular ball, Kerr lids and rings. Well, I may have enough to go back and fill in on some of these others, so we're gonna just do this right here. And then I'm gonna fill that ladle up. Just like that. And I'll come back on some of these larger jars and add a little more. So it worked out perfect today. But what I do first is I need to wipe the rims so that I make sure that there's nothing on the rim of the jar. So I just dip my paper towel in that hot water and squeeze it out. And it's hot, I gotta be careful. And I'm just gonna go around and make sure that there's no jelly drips. And that hot towel really takes it off. And now we're going to put our lids on. And when you add your rings, you don't want to clamp them down super, super tight, just fingertip tight. Because that air needs to come out from underneath the rim or underneath that lid and past that rim. If your rim is too tight, it can't do that, and the lid is most likely will buckle. It could pop off. I had one pop off the other day. Or your jar can break, which that's a mess. I'll tighten that a little more as I put these in the canner. Got my steam canner going over there. Fingertip tight. And I have a gauge on the top of mine, and when it gets to a certain area, then I can start my timing. I got the steam canner. I think I also got it on Amazon. I could put a link there also for that. And it depends on what your altitude is. I'm at sea level, or what's called zone 1, and it's just coming into the area, so I'm going to give it just a little bit more time. I'm going to go ahead and start my timer for 10 minutes. Okay, so our 10 minutes is up, so I'm going to cut my fire off and remove this lid. And it's going pop, 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 pop. Those lids are sealing. You could leave that there for 5 minutes to kind of let the temperature adjust. Sometimes I do that, especially if the room is cooler, but it's summertime, the room's not that much cooler. And it's warm over here by the stove, so I'm going to go ahead and lift my jars over here to cool. You want to leave some space between them as they cool, and be very careful to lift straight up. And you might notice that the lid is loose a little bit. On those that have sealed, you can see the lid will be a little bit loose, so you don't have to worry about that. You just want to leave it there. These cool, I'll put their date on them, and then these will go for farmer's market. So I have a label that I put on there. But you always want to date your jar lids so that if it goes into your pantry, you know what you need to use first. This jelly, I've had jelly 3 years old. Open it, it's perfect. It's just great. So it will remain shelf stable for quite some time. The Mustang grapes, though, because they are so acidic, they have a lot of tartaric acid in them. Sometimes it'll get some crystallization on the bottom of the jar. That's just that tartaric acid, and it's just fine. So I hope that you try your hand at making some grape jelly. You can buy grape juice at the store and just follow the instructions that are there. That way, you know, if you wanted to use organic sugar, you can use your organic grape juice. Any kind of juice that you purchase at the store, there's probably a recipe in that CERTO box, and it gives you a little bit of control over what you're feeding your family. So I hope that you have a great summer. You enjoy your time off if you're a teacher like me. Enjoy your kids if they're home, if you have little ones at home. I hope you have a good gardening season. If you're in the throes of gardening, our gardens are about done here on the Texas Gulf Coast because of the pest pressure and the heat and the humidity. So we're getting ready for fall gardening. We start that in, believe it or not, August and September. We start getting those plants in the ground and protecting them from that heat so that they can produce for us in the fall. This is also Mustang grape time. If you're along the Texas Gulf Coast or East Texas, they're right. It's time to pick. So if you see some on the side of the road, and stop and just take a look and see if there's any grapes. Some of them won't have grapes on them, but you might find some and forage. Just make sure it's an area that hasn't been sprayed with any kind of pesticides, especially Roundup. I know counties will often spray along the sides of the roads. So hope you have a great rest of your summer. Bye, y'all.